Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before. We've gathered today to talk about the scourge of anti-Semitism tonight. We're 2 weeks away from the one-year anniversary of the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Without question, on October 7th, which would have never happened if I was president, by the way, I have to always preface it by saying it would have never, ever happened. Innocent men, women, children, and babies were tortured, maimed, kidnapped, and killed. It was an amazing sight, especially if you were able to see, and you don't want to necessarily see it, some of the tapes and film that was made of the atrocity.
Let's be clear, reading the testimony of survivors of October 7th from Kibbutz Be'eri, like Yasmin Porat, was extremely harrowing. What she alleges is not only that her husband was killed in the initial takeover, but also she then says that the Israeli military tanks fired on the room where the hostages were, killing 12 Israeli civilian captives. We have also seen fantastic work in the Haaretz newspaper by Amos Harel, where he speaks at length about Brigadier General Rosenfeld, who was in charge of the Haaretz crossing. Now, when this military base was taken over, what he says, Amos Harel in Haaretz, the well-known Israeli newspaper, he says that Rosenfeld, when he realized that the base was overtaken, called in an airstrike. This is in Haaretz. These are not my words. These are the words of Amos Harel. What we then saw is, since October the 7th, 22 Israeli civilian detainees killed in Gaza by Israeli airstrikes.
Some of them are holding their own civilians hostage, but what about our civilians that are?
Yeah. So it's the same thing. If Israel would tell them, we're going to destroy you, and there are no conditions, there's nothing you can say that's going to stop us, and what do they need the hostages for?
But Amalek also just killed.
That's why we just have to kill them.
So they're gonna kill our hostages either way.
So where does that leave us? So they are. If they say, you can't bomb us, you're going to kill the hostages. So we're helpless. We can't do that. We are not helpless. We're going to do what we're going to do.
The Israeli military has something called the Hannibal Directive. The Hannibal Directive was developed in Lebanon in the 80s by the Israelis with the clear understanding that they do not want the other side to take hostages. So, for example, you have the case of Hada Golding in 2014, what Israel called Operation Protective Edge, which killed over 2,200 Palestinians. But when this Israeli soldier was taken captive by the Palestinians, Israel then proceeded to kill everyone, including the civilians in the area around where he was kept and the soldier himself. So what Israel has, unfortunately, is a policy of killing captives, is a policy of killing captives, is a policy of killing captives.
We're gonna make history. We're gonna change how everything is gonna look, and we're gonna do it right.
From the Jordan River to the Middle East, that's all ours. It was promised to us. There's no Palestinian nation. No one wants them, so why we? Because we are good. We finished to be good 3 weeks ago.
I think the bombing is good. I think they should have a lot more of the bombing, the bombarding. I think we can do a lot more inside of Gaza. It's a fight between the good and the bad, the good and the evil.
The only innocent people that are in Gaza now are the 229 hostages that were taken. Once they will go back to Israel, we will bomb Shifa Hospital, all the hospitals, all the tunnels, and kill them all.
On October 7th, which would have never happened if I was president, by the way, I have to always preface it by saying it would have never, ever happened. Innocent men, women, children, and babies were tortured, maimed, kidnapped, and killed. It was an amazing sight, especially if you were able to see, and you don't want to necessarily see it, some of the tapes and film that was made of the atrocity.
And you know what is similar? Is when you spread the lies of 40 decapitated babies, although it was refuted. So what happens when people hear that, killing babies is horrible. But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image
Well, who has
with a
said
certain
that?
trigger in people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40
Who has said that?
Who has said that?
40 decapitated?
Who has said
you
that?
You have repeat.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated
No.
babies?
Never. We can't ignore this extraordinarily sad, horrible story that's come out of Israel. What do you make of this?
It's barbaric. I mean, it's one of the... I can't think of anything that has upset me more other than 9/11. And I don't really want to talk about it too much because I get upset. So if you want me to be crying during your show, go ahead.
No, I tell you, I myself choked up earlier reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them
Don't.
being beheaded. Reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them
Don't.
being beheaded.
About 40 babies being killed. Oh my God. And some of them being beheaded.
Here's how unverified information can change the landscape of a war and pave the way for horrific outcomes. You've likely seen the headlines about 40 babies being beheaded by Hamas fighters in the Kfar Aza village in southern Israel. It's hard to miss. It's everywhere. It's been carried by a number of reputable news outlets, repeated on live TV by powerful political figures, and featured on the front cover of British newspapers. The only problem is there's so far no proof to the story, but it hasn't stopped a spiraling and dizzying loop of hysteria from dominating the news cycle over the last few days. So how did it spread?
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever... Anyway.
On October 7th, which would have never happened if I was president, by the way, I have to always preface it by saying it would have never, ever happened. Innocent men, women, children, and babies were tortured, maimed, kidnapped, and killed. It was an amazing sight, especially if you were able to see, and you don't want to necessarily see it, some of the tapes and film that was made of the atrocity.
There's the story of the rape, the mass rapes. Brianna had been following that story. The gray zone is done, which we're going to get to the gray zone here in a second because they're also under fire. But the gray zone had been, Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate had been doing some really great reporting under really talking about the reality of what really happened, where there was some evidence, where there wasn't evidence. There was a lot of stories circulating around. New York Times circulated a story about mass rapes without having a single shred of evidence to back it up, which is not journalism. And they were pointing it out. The gray zone was pointing it out, and they were able to and then, of course, the New York Times backtracks later on, and there's this, well, okay, we didn't really actually have any evidence, but by then the damage is done, even if they come back with the retraction a month later or 2 months later.
More than 60 journalism professors around the United States have written to the New York Times calling on the paper to commission an independent review of its report that members of Hamas committed widespread sexual violence on October 7th. Numerous media outlets have raised questions about the paper's reporting, which was written in part by a freelance Israeli journalist, or reported by her, who had liked multiple posts on social media advocating for violence against Palestinians. Last week, Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez and I spoke to one of the letter's signatories, Rutgers University journalism and media studies professor Deepa Kumar, author of Islamophobia and the Politics of Empire, 20 years after 9/11. I began by asking her what prompted the letter.
Basically, after this particular article screams without words how Hamas weaponized sexual violence on October 7th came out, there have been numerous reports that have debunked its primary claims. And several journalism professors started to talk about what it means for the New York Times to run a piece like this, even though its key claims have been debunked. And so a group of journalism professors got together and crafted this letter to the New York Times to, as you say, set up an investigative, an independent investigation of how the story was reported, written, and published. And at the center of the controversy really is how the two freelancers who were recruited, particularly Anat Schwartz, who's not a journalist at all, she's an Israeli filmmaker and an intelligence officer for a former Israeli officer for the Air Force. And she has no experience doing journalism. She's recruited to do this story. And what The Intercept, for instance, and Jeremy Scahill, you've had him on the show to talk about the story, what they have shown is how she went around trying to find evidence for the claim that there was systematic violence against women on October 7th and couldn't find any.
Right now, there is no evidence of any rape taking place. That doesn't mean I'm going to just deny it. But the claims put forward in this New York Times article, the claims put forward in The Guardian, the claims put forward by NBC, those are what we've been debunking. They don't add up. And so when you talk about this witness, Sapir, who is the Israeli police's key witness, and the Israeli police have acknowledged in an interview with Haaretz, that witness, that there is no physical or forensic evidence or video evidence or any evidence to back up any of her claims. When this witness claims to have been shot in the back, then witnessed gang rape, and then Hamas militants whipping out 3 decapitated heads of women, and this person can't be fully identified, you have to start questioning some of these claims. I mean, it sounds like something out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We've seen so many lies, the lies about 40 beheaded babies.
And then, of course, the New York Times backtracks later on, and there's this, well, okay, we didn't really actually have any evidence, but by then the damage is done, even if they come back with the retraction a month later or 2 months later. Well, Brianna had been talking about that as well, saying that there is no evidence of this. We can only talk about things where there's evidence. She was holding firm to that. And I think where there was a lot of attacks on her after her debating, after her being more public about her debate, it did seem like there was a concerted effort against her to silence her. They came after her. The mob came after her.
I can't say that I'm representing any more of that. I don't know what's going on in their meeting of the cabinet. I don't know what is going on the negotiation team. It's not my job to perform. My job is to take care of my sister and to show the world what is really going on right now, what is really going on to my sister, what has really what really happened on October 7th. I don't know if you know Zaka organization, but they have the worst pictures of what Hamas has done to the women during the October 7th attack.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, we are very familiar with Zaka, but regrettably, the reporting has been roundly discredited by both Israeli and American media sources. So I really would like to bring this back to your sister specifically. And I want to ask you about what you make of new reports.
Because I saw the pictures with my own eyes. And when you will have a sister in a terror organization's hand, you will know the feeling of terrifying every minute of every day, can't sleep at night, can't even drink a sip of water because I know that my sister is drinking salt water from the sea, that she's not getting food and the terrorist is eating in front of her face.
Yeah, Yardin, I really hope your sister does get water and food, and I hope that, I'm sure you're aware of the ample reporting of Israel blocking aid, food and water to Gaza in a way that is hurting both the people of Gaza and the hostages, right?
Most of the trucks are getting inside Gaza. I don't know if you saw, but Hamas is blocking them.
There has been disruption to aid supplies coming into Gaza as well, with some Israeli protesters yesterday blockading trucks that were heading from Jordan through the West Bank trying to take aid supplies into Gaza. That's been an issue. They want to highlight the ongoing plight of the hostages who are still being held by Hamas in Gaza.
Then the leverage is obvious. We have provided Israel with tens of billions of dollars over many years. Just the other day, against my vote, another $3.3 billion went to military aid for Israel. Is part of the supplemental bill, which is still being discussed. It's $14 billion more, including $10 billion more for unfettered military aid. So you want to talk about leverage? That's leverage. The idea that Israel is telling us what they're going to do at the same time as they're accepting our money is a bit absurd to me. When I look at the situation there right now, what is most important is that as we speak right now, hundreds of thousands of children are facing starvation, while at the same time, hundreds, if not thousands of trucks are lined up to get into Gaza to deliver the humanitarian aid, and Israel is refusing to allow that. That is obscene, that is unacceptable, and a matter of fact is in violation, as you know, of American law, because any country that bars American humanitarian aid should not be getting financial support from the United States. That's the law.
Most of the trucks are getting inside Gaza. I don't know if you saw, but Hamas is blocking them from them civilians. They're not giving their own civilians the humanitarian aid that everyone is so eager to give them. And I'm not against that. I'm a nurse in my profession. I really, truly believe that everyone should live in safety, in health. This is one of the biggest crises that we ever experienced here. But I'm really feeling that everyone is taking care of the Gaza civilians like they should. But what about the hostages? Why
let's talk about how to get the hostages home. I agree.
No, please let me finish. Why aren't the Red Cross is entering the hostages? Why aren't they giving them medications? My sister have a lot of chronic diseases. Why aren't she getting anything? And we know that they didn't got anything. Why aren't they getting what they deserve?
The Times just reported this morning that Biden said, quote, there's every reason for people to draw the conclusion that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war for his own political self-preservation. This is after Biden's speech at the end of last week was met with statements from Israeli government officials saying that there wasn't an agreement about this hostage deal on the part of Israel, and that there was a gap between what Biden represented and what they would agree to. And after months of Netanyahu and members of his administration saying that the goal was to eliminate Hamas and that he would not agree to a ceasefire and hostage exchange deal, until that happened. Now, this seems to be Joe Biden saying again that what is obstructing the ceasefire process that could allow your sister to come home and get the food and get the medicine and get the care that she needs and to live in safety is being obstructed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you feel like he's putting his own personal political goals ahead of prioritizing hostage release?
I really see that you want to talk political things, and this is not my profession. I'm saying right now that we have an Israeli deal on the table, and we're waiting for Hamas to say yes.
Unfortunately, that
We have
doesn't
a
seem
lot
to
of
be the case. I wish that it were, but unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. Would you like to say anything else
This is
that
exactly
we should know
the
about
case that
your...
even Biden said himself. This is what the Egyptian government said. This is what the Qatari said just today. And this is what my government said. Hamas also said that they're waiting, they need to read the agreement and to decide whatever they want. I don't know, but what I'm getting is from the media, and I'm sure that you're getting it from the media itself yourself because you're not in the negotiation team. So I'm here to talk about my sister. Please help me spread her story. Help me make people understand what she's going through as a woman in 2024. We are not 200 years ago. This is not okay that we have terror organization that's controlling the free world and people in the West letting it happen and stay on the streets, killing the hostages now, or Israelis must die. What did I do wrong? What did my sister did wrong? Nothing. Nothing. We did nothing wrong.
Well,
This was happening inside our own country. Yeah. And if the world won't help us, we will see 9/11 the second time in the US as well. But we can already see in the United States, in Michigan, rallies that's calling death to America, not condemning terror organizations in Israel or any other place. In fact, is reflecting to your country as well.
I'm just going to push back against the implication that in Michigan, which has the largest Muslim and Arab population in America, that there is any threat of terrorism from our own people. And I would like to clarify also that one of the rationale that was presented for 9/11 was discussed with America's support of Israel's continued occupation of Palestine. So that's neither here nor there. I really do hope that Netanyahu agrees and Israel agrees to the ceasefire deal that could bring all the hostages, including your sister, home. And I'm sure many people watching are praying for her safety.
Thank you. Me too. And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right. Thanks for joining. Stick around. More Rising coming up next.
Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
Altogether, Israel gets more than $3 billion a year in assistance from the United States.
Sometimes the votes go through without a single debate involving billions of dollars. You couldn't spend that kind of money in this country without a huge debate going on. But a foreign government gets this money without debate because simply it's just organized to get it.
Why does Israel get more aid, more U.S. aid, than any other country in the world? $700 per Israeli per year, as opposed to $50 per Egyptian per year, as opposed to $2 per African per year.
Are you familiar with Genesis 12:3?
Probably not as well as you are, Congressman.
Well, it's pretty clear. It was the covenant that God made with Abraham. And that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you. And then in the New Testament, it was confirmed that all nations would be blessed through you. So you do not know about that.
I have heard that. Now that you've explained it, yes, I have heard that before.
It's now familiar. Do you consider that a serious issue? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible?
I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God?
Here's the deal. We fail the mission, you die.
We find out any information you give us is false, you die.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
What? No.
If you mismatch blacks, you die.
No.
If you cough without covering your mouth.
Harley, those last three aren't things.
I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible?
Definitely not.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
Black father calls 911 for help and gets arrested and loses his job. Let's give you some of the video here. The father being handcuffed by police.
Hey, can't go behind my, you see it? Here, just put my hands, man. I'm not going on the ground here. Right. Here, just put my hands. Would you stop? Please, would you stop? Would you stop? Hey, he told you he's hurt. My hand, my wrist, I just had surgery. Would you stop? I'm right here, my head like this. What is out here, man? Hey, bro, you see this? I got you. You see it? I got my phone right there. You see it?
I was trying to be cool.
Hey, man, I'm not under arrest for telling you that I'm not finna sit down.
You escalated everything. Who? The cop. He escalated everything.
How y'all gonna say how y'all gonna sit here and put me in the handcuffs because my baby got kidnapped? Because my baby got kidnapped.
Baltimore cop decides to put his gun to the head of a man after a mix-up. Here it is.
Stop reaching!
I ain't reaching for nothing! Stop! Are you great?
Stop reaching for something!
I can't breathe!
Yo!
Right here. Right there.
Yo!
You reach back over
Yo, but you just put in my pocket! You
I knew what to shoot! Do not reach!
He put something in my pocket! He put something in my pocket! He put something in my pocket! He put something in my pocket!
What was going on here? Where's the emergency? A cop breaks a black driver's window in an attempted car search. It must have been super important. Lives at stake. Here's that video.
Waiver, I'm not about to get out. I'm not about to be searched.
Roll down the window or unlock the door.
I'm not about to be searched. Call your supervisor.
Undo your seatbelt and unlock the door. Here's what's gonna happen, man. I'm telling you what's gonna happen, okay?
Can you call your supervisor?
Turn the car off.
Can you call your supervisor?
They're on their way. Turn the car off. Are you listening to me?
So I want you to get on camera. You guys are violating.
It's on my camera.
You guys are violating my rights. About to search me for what?
We're gonna ensure there's nothing dangerous in this car, and
there's nothing dangerous in this car. I'm a black male.
I'm gonna make sure, okay?
But I'm not a fourth waiver. You shouldn't have to make sure. I'm not a fourth. I know my rights.
I don't want to break this window.
No.
You understand?
You guys are gonna assault me then?
Turn the car off.
Are you going to assault me? I just want to get that on. Are you going to assault me? Are you going to assault me on camera?
Huh?
You can assault me. Go ahead. If you're going to assault me, go ahead.
I don't want to.
Because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm driving. I'm on the freeway. You guys are pulling me over. Can I have my ticket and go? I know my rights.
I'm telling you what to do, okay? You need to listen to me.
I'm not a fourth waiver. I know it. You guys only have a right to search people that are fourth waivers.
This isn't a fourth waiver thing going on.
What is it to search for?
I told you.
What is your probable cause for the search? Because I'm a black male?
Huh?
Am I a black male and I'm getting pulled over because I'm a black male?
Nothing to do with it. This is your last chance.
I guess you're gonna have to do that. I want you guys to violate my rights and do all this, get it on camera, so I can sue you.
This doesn't need to happen, man.
It doesn't need to happen. You guys don't need to search me. I'm about to go pick my son. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I'm not on paperwork or parole. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Go ahead. Break your window.
LAPD cop decides to punch a man that's already defenseless. Here it is.
What did I do?
Oh! I got that on record. I got that on record too.
The cities, unfortunately, that are in trouble are all run by Democrats. You have radical left Democrats running cities like Chicago and so many others that we just had a news conference. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. I mean, that's the facts. When you look at Chicago and you look at the job, Mayor Lightfoot sent me a letter yesterday, and I think in their own way they want us to go in. There'll be a time when they're going to want us to go in full blast, but right now we're sending extra people to help. Chicago is a disaster. The mayor is saying don't come in. The mayor is telling us not to come in. At some point, we can void that if we have to, but we may have to at some, because it's out of control. I assume she's saying that for political reasons. I think it's negative political reasons. She's a Democrat. I'm going to be nice. She's a Democrat. She's making a big mistake. People are dying in Chicago and other cities, and we can solve the problem. They have to ask us, but we can solve the problem.
Well, you saw he mentioned Mayor Lori Lightfoot a number of times, and the Mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, joins me now. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Give me your reaction to the president. I understand that you two spoke after those remarks.
You know, the president's remarks are politics. You know, obviously he's in the fight for his survival. So I'm not surprised that he is targeting Democratic mayors, whether it's me, whether it's Keisha Lance Bottoms, Jenny Durkin in Seattle, or Muriel Bowser in Washington, D.C. But it doesn't change the fact that we do not want unconstitutional secret federal agents coming into our cities, grabbing our residents and detaining them and violating their rights.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler.
Unmarked vehicles driving into crowds, pulling people off the streets without any probable cause, as far as I can tell. And the people who are engaging in those activities aren't even willing to identify who they are, and they don't wear insignia on their uniforms. That's a real threat to democracy.
On Fox News this morning, Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf said his agents don't need invitations to do their jobs. On Friday, Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum sued the Department of Homeland Security and other federal agencies for allegedly violating protesters' civil rights. The suit claims agents in unmarked cars took people off the streets without warrants. The American Civil Liberties Union of Oregon also sued DHS and the U.S. Marshals Service for allegedly violating the rights of journalists and legal observers. Oregon Democrats accuse the president of playing politics.
There's no question in my mind that this is a very cynical ploy on the part of the Trump White House. It's targeting not only the city of Portland, but other democratically controlled cities. And I absolutely believe that the play here is to support his own base.
Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley tweeted he'll seek legislation barring the administration from sending paramilitary squads into U.S. cities. As protests continue across the country, Portland is not the Trump administration's only focus. Today, the Chicago Tribune reported DHS plans to deploy 150 agents in Chicago.
Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
Durham, North Carolina has become the first American city to actually ban its police force from any kind of training with either the Israeli Police Department or the IDF. The motion was passed unanimously by the city council, despite outcry from local Jewish groups, after gaining nearly 1,400 signatures from the Durham population. Activist groups, including the Jewish Voice for Peace, united under the banner Demilitarize from Durham to Palestine to rally support for the proposal. While critics say the ban is anti-Semitic because it singles out Israel, the council's decision called out the militarized style of Israeli army and police tactics, accusing those tactics of harming both Palestinians and Jews of color. The statement specifies that the, quote, tactics of extrajudicial killing, excessive force, racial profiling, and repression of social justice movements, end quote, used by Israeli forces would only help the police terrorize black and brown communities here in the U.S. While police departments across the U.S. have indeed come under intense scrutiny lately for alleged racism and abuse of power,
the person sitting across from me, or sitting next to me, I guess, it posted on his Facebook page in 2016 a tribute to someone who he said was his mentor. That was Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. He said he was his mentor and his friend. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Rabbi Schneerson, there were some Jews who believed that he was and is the Messiah. So rejecting Christ, but believing that that rabbi was his Messiah. Now, you may remember in the news recently, there was this radicalized faction of the Lubavitch Orthodox community in Brooklyn that were digging tunnels in Brooklyn and hurling benches at police officers.
Police make a wild discovery underneath a synagogue in Brooklyn.
An illegal tunnel found below the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in Crown Heights.
All right, Fox 5's Lisa Evers takes a look at how it was discovered.
9 men are facing charges this afternoon after police say they dug a secret tunnel into the sanctuary of the Chabad Lubavitch headquarters in Brooklyn.
The men described by police as extremist students are accused of digging the tunnel so that they would be able to have access to the sanctuary after hours. And when a cement truck was brought in to fill that tunnel, the men stood in the tunnel, refusing to leave.
The discovery of a secret tunnel eventually led to a massive brawl inside a 100-year-old synagogue in Brooklyn, New York. Known as 770, the synagogue serves one of the largest groups of Hasidic Jews in the world. Now, luckily, no injuries were reported from this brawl, believe it or not. But what the hell sparked it? What is behind the brawl in the first place? What got people so fired up? Well, it was all over the discovery of a tunnel and an attempt by authorities to fill it with cement. So you see a gentleman coming out of that tunnel. This isn't in the Middle East, guys. This is in Brooklyn, okay? This is in Brooklyn.
Who is the real Netanyahu? What does he stand for? What are his beliefs? What is his story? What is his story? What is his story?
בזמן שישראל לאחרונה נמצאת בטקסט כמה עניינים. מה שרואה עוד, וגם משהו שעדיין משאיר ליבו. אז הייתה משהו במה ידיעתו. הכנראה שהיא מספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר שוד, כמה שוד בגיר עדיין ליבו. אבל יש עוד כמה שעות, אבל יש משתדלים גם היום, בבשורות טובות. יש שמחה וטוב לבוא. על כדי שחסידים מקפידים שכל מיני את שמחה. בשורות טובות, הצלחה רבה.
In New York City, 20,000 Hasidic Jews still keep traditions which have remained unaltered for centuries. They are called the Lubavitch Chabad. The Lubavitch believe that they have the answer to the question, what is a Jew? Or more precisely, what does God expect of a Jew? God expects that a Jew should be someone who sticks rigidly to orthodox practices and to a fundamentalist reading of the Jewish Bible, the Torah. Crown Heights, Brooklyn is the headquarters of a movement which has set up communities in 28 countries. The influence of the Lubavitch is felt worldwide, but most notably in Israel, where Orthodox religious parties would like to achieve a purely religious state. Hasidism began in Eastern Europe in the 18th century and was argued over even then. It attracted thousands to its emotional, mystical worship, but existing orthodoxy opposed it. Hasidic life centers on a charismatic leader known as the Rebbe. The Lubavitch Rebbe is Menachem Mendel Schneerson. He's the seventh in a dynasty which stretches back 200 years. He is revered by his followers as father, guru, king, miracle worker, perhaps even Messiah.
You just like me because my daughter happens to be Jewish, right? She has a great husband, Jared, and I'll tell you what, Ivanka could not be happier, and she's very proud. The only bad news, I can't get her on Saturday. I call and call. I can't speak to my daughter anymore on Saturday, but that's okay.
Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful.
I want to thank my Jewish daughter. I have a Jewish daughter. This wasn't in the plan, but I'm very glad it happened. Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
Iran, Palestinian terrorists in Judea and Samaria perpetrated scores of attacks there and throughout Israel. And last April, for the first time ever, Iran directly attacked Israel from its own territory, firing 300 drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles at us. I have a message for the tyrants of Tehran. If you strike us, we will strike you. There is no place in Iran that the long arm of Israel cannot reach. And that's true of the entire Middle East. Far from being lambs led to the slaughter, Israel's soldiers have fought back with incredible courage and with heroic sacrifice. And I have another message for this assembly and for the world outside this hall. We are winning. Ladies and gentlemen, as Israel defends itself against Iran in the seven-front war, the line separating the blessing and the curse could not be more clear. This is the map I presented here last year. It's a map of a blessing. It shows Israel and its Arab partners forming a land bridge connecting Asia and Europe between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Across this bridge, we will lay rail lines, energy pipelines, fiber optic cables, and this will serve the betterment of 2 billion people. Now look at this second map. It's a map. Look at the second map. It's a map of a curse. It's a map of an arc of terror that Iran has created and imposed from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. Iran's malignant arc has shut down international waterways. It cuts off trade. It destroys millions, destroys nations from within, and inflicts misery on millions. On the one hand, a bright blessing, a future of hope. On the other hand, a dark future of despair. And if you think this dark map is only a curse for Israel, if you think that, then you should think again. Because Iran's aggression, if it's not checked, will endanger every single country in the Middle East and many, many countries in the rest of the world. Because Iran seeks to impose its radicalism well beyond the Middle East. That's why it funds terror networks on 5 continents. That's why it builds ballistic missiles for nuclear warheads to threaten the entire world.
Were I a Jew, I would be a Zionist. And my father pointed out to me, I did not need to be a Jew to be a Zionist, for I am. Israel is essential to the security of Jews worldwide.
And here's what I would like to say to you, Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture, okay? The one that's relevant to me is woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And if you'd like to dive into a little more scripture, I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie.
Revelation 3:9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie.
And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley.
And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley.
The fact that you would try to say, I am Jewish, and this is what I believe, and do and say the things that you are doing. People can see and hear evil, and what you are doing right now is an act of evil. The lies that you are telling, not just on me, but also on my family members, are a good example for the world to see what we are referring to when we call something radical Zionism.
Some months back, it was last year, late last year, when there's a conflict between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, when she was still on the Daily Wire, she said some things that to me were blatantly anti-Semitic. To me were blatantly anti-Semitic.
The current definition of anti-Semitism today has to do with what the feelings are.
And then this year, a few months back, some statements that were blatantly anti-Semitic and putting out narratives they're just wrong, false narratives, but some of the standard conspiratorial anti-Jewish theories that are out there. So a few days back, she went on another rant. I'd only heard a clip that was about 1.5 minutes long, and then last night saw maybe 8 more minutes of it, which were even more shocking. But I want to play this for you. And remember, she has millions of online followers. She said a lot of good things, done a lot of good things over the years. She's recently now officially converted to Catholicism to join her husband, and we'll come to that a little later in the broadcast. But I want you to hear what she has to say. We had to bleep out a word or two, and then I'm going to tell you more of what she shared and why it is so utterly, factually outlandish. I'm not talking about an opinion. I'm talking about factually outlandish. Oh, okay. You know, Aaron Judge, the greatest hitter in baseball right now, one of the greatest home run hitters ever. Aaron Judge is not on the Supreme Court, even though his last name is Judge. He's not on the Supreme Court. Oh. And Michael Brown, I am Caucasian, even though my last name is Brown. Michael Brown, I am Caucasian, even though my last name is Brown. Michael Brown, I am Caucasian.
Michael Brown, I am Caucasian.
I'm white. I'm white. Unseasoned. A Caucasian.
Michael Brown, I am Caucasian. You say, well, where did the name Ashkenazi came from? So, a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now emigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany. They looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Michael Brown, I am Caucasian. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Japhet is a myth. 100% false, zero truth to it. Just study the history.
Israel has to defeat her. I really believe that it's a disaster for Israel. And you know why, and you've heard her statements. We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again.
And we're going to make Israel great again.
Today, it is prohibited, and you can Google this, to do a DNA test in Israel. Totally forbidden. Wrong. It's illegal. It's a crime. You'll be jailed if you do a DNA test in Israel. Why? Because they know the truth will come out. You come from Poland, you come from Ukraine, you came from Europe, you came from everywhere else. And they were the original Middle Eastern Jews who lived together with the Muslims and the Christians for centuries. For centuries. So what happened to a lot of the Jews
major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black Lives Matter starts there. I had last week a sit-down dinner at my house with 40 people, which are considered the leadership of the black community.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them. Eliminating the tribe of Judah.
Eliminating the tribe of Judah
in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
On October 7th, which would have never happened if I was president, by the way, I have to always preface it by saying it would have never, ever happened. Innocent men, women, children, and babies were tortured, maimed, kidnapped, and killed. It was an amazing sight, especially if you were able to see, and you don't want to necessarily see it, some of the tapes and film that was made of the atrocity. It was a wake-up call for the entire world, and you have to take it that it is a wake-up call. Get smart. Instead, even here in America, Jewish citizens have been forced to endure the worst outbreak of anti-Semitism in many generations. And so many people shockingly even deny the attack took place. This is a new thing. I saw it recently where they're interviewing people. They said, well, we don't know if there was an attack. I don't know. It's just so terrible. And, there were people I read many times during the Holocaust. We had people denying it. They were deniers. They said, we don't believe it ever took place. And it's a terrible thing when they say that. Anything like what is happening right now. I never thought you'd ever see a thing like this ever happen. It's beyond belief. 15 years ago, Israel was the strongest lobby, if you want to use the word lobby, had the strongest representation of people like this. These are great people, Miriam. But the strongest there was, if you said something about a Jewish person or something about Israel that was bad, you were out of politics.
And I mean, most of the crime incidents in Crown Heights are targeted at Jews.
It's always been known throughout the course of history, Jews are soft targets. We've been the victims of so many major incidents, genocides and catastrophes and holocausts and everything. It's just the way we are. We've always been victimized. When a black guy sees two people walking down the street, a black person and a Jewish person, his choice to attack someone will not be a black person. Because a black person, you never know. What is that guy? Does he carry a knife? Does he carry a gun? A Jew is a soft target. It's always been known like that, which is why we always encourage to walk in pairs, which is why we don't walk so much outside, like at night, so to speak, alone.
I mean, there we interviewed this guy and he told us if there's gonna be like a Jewish guy and a black guy walking in the street, and somebody wants to rob, they would go for the Jewish guy because he's an easier target.
Actually, no, he's wrong. They would actually go for the black guy because you go for a Jewish guy, you get more time. Like the lawyers, the judges will actually give us more time if we rob someone of another race.
They're going to classify it as a hate crime.
Blacks rob each other because you get less time.
So it's like a practical thing, right?
It's a lot of wisdom behind
it. And honestly speaking, like, if you wanted to rob a Jewish person, like, why would you rob a Jewish person? Like, you don't never see them with nothing that would make you want to rob them. Like,
yeah, especially them up there. They basic, simple. They don't have nothing. And most people
like, how could you target out a Jew person like when all of them dress the same? Like, everybody dressed the same. They all look the same. So,
and I lived around here 35 years. I have never seen a Jewish person get robbed in this neighborhood.
Never.
But there are kind of incidents between blacks and Jews, right? There are some issues.
Well, it ain't really issues. It's like favoritism. They get treated better.
Yeah,
like the police will treat them better.
Yes, they do.
If I'm arguing with a Jew, the cops gonna come to me. They're not gonna bother them. They're gonna think I'm the aggressor. They're not gonna think they're the aggressor because they already have like a perception that Jews are more holier than black people.
Let me tell you something, another thing, you know, they are supposed to be the chosen ones, but they be in a welfare office, in a Section 8 office. They the first one to get any kind of bargain deal on anything. They're the first ones to get any kind of discount, or they know the system very well, okay? A lot of times they have all this money coming in the household, but somehow they always figure out a way to manage getting Section 8 or public assistance. Whatever services is available, trust me, the Jewish people are the first ones to find out about it. They're the first ones to utilize it.
Rabbi Moshe Weisberg says Lakewood's Orthodox Jewish community is in a panic after law enforcement busted 7 couples in connection with a welfare fraud sting. On Monday, officers from the county prosecutor went to the upscale Olive Court home of Rabbi Zellman and Zipporah Sorotskin and arrested them for theft by deception of more than $338,000 in Medicaid, food stamps, rental assistance, and SSI. Also arrested on the same charges at their home on Blue Jay Way, Mordecai and Yaakov Breskin for alleged theft of almost $586,000 in welfare benefits.
I'm from NJTV News. Could we talk to you, please?
No one answered questions at the Hadassah Lane home of Shimon and Yaakov Nussbaum, arrested by federal agents, and Rachel and Mordecai Sorotskin, charged by the FBI with collecting federal benefits despite earning millions. On Wednesday, officers swooped in and arrested 3 more couples charged with the same offenses. The 14 defendants allegedly defrauded almost $2 million in welfare benefits. That when Lakewood's Mayor Ray Cole says there's a waiting list for Section 8 vouchers.
To see something like this happen is just like a knife in the heart. There's so many people out there who need the help. When things like this happen, it turns people against everybody.
Court documents indicate that the suspects basically declared themselves to be poverty-stricken, all the while earning tens of thousands of dollars more. The alleged fraud often involved hidden income, bogus applications, and dicey financial records.
Is there a pervasive attitude of bend the rules?
I don't know if I would use the term bend the rules. I would say there's a pervasive attitude that, you know, if there are programs out there and that they can help me out, let me try to get those programs.
Weisberg's a member of Lakewood's VOD, a local Orthodox Jewish council. He says it's been fielding a barrage of calls from members of the Orthodox community who are now worried they could be targeted because of a careless attitude towards using government benefits. He says the VOD will organize educational programs to change that.
Because of confusion and because of financial pressures that people might have, they probably might have done certain things that they shouldn't have done and certainly should have asked about, and that's really what we're dealing with here.
Ocean County Prosecutor Joe Coronado stated financial assistance programs are designed to alleviate family hardships for those truly in need. My office gave clear guidance and notice to the Lakewood community in 2015 of what's considered financial abuse of these programs. Those who choose to ignore those warnings by seeking to illegally profit on the backs of taxpayers will pay the punitive price of their actions. The mayor asked,
I just want people not to jump to conclusions, not to draw conclusions about an entire community and an entire township based on the actions of a few people. You know, we're a township of probably over 100,000 folks. And no matter how hard you try, you're always going to have some folks that may take advantage of a system.
More arrests are expected in this ongoing investigation.
Actually, they're part of the mind control system that they use through television and the media. The higher ups.
That right there is in a book called The Elders of the Protocols of Zion. That was in like 1898. They was talking about how the Jews will use TV and media and propaganda to control the world and take over the world. So little things like that just, oh man. Who wrote that book? It was a Russian who wrote that book too. Whoever's watching this, Elders of the Protocol of Zion, read it. It gives you an idea of the blueprint to take over the world. It is.
They're implementing it right now.
It's actually, when you read it, they say it's false. But when you read it, you see everything coming to light.
The Protocols of the Elders of Zion describes how a group of all Jews sit around the table plotting conspiracies to take over the world.
But that's considered to be like a really anti-Semitic book, you know.
It is anti-Semitic to a certain. It's really not anti-Semitic.
It's not anti-Semitic.
It's like people keep saying things and they really don't know what they're talking about.
If somebody's telling the truth, if somebody's telling the truth about something, why does it have to be anti-Semitic? Because it's not in the Jewish people's favor. It's not anti-Semitic. It's just somebody being honest.
Facts is what it is. Bottom line.
No, but just to put things straight, like this book, the books of the elderly of Zion, the Protocols
that was
of the
actually, they
Elders.
said it was written by a Jew, actually. So it's really not anti-Semitic.
But this book was like kind of a fraud, you know?
Yeah, they say it's a fraud.
There wasn't such a thing, you know, it's like a bunch of people sitting together running the world, you know? This is kind of bullshit,
What
you
you
know?
said that's bullshit?
That is not true. This is like a false book.
That's not bullshit. As far as like a bunch of people sitting together running the world. The United Nations is a bunch of people sitting together running the world. So how could you say that's bullshit?
No, it's different, you know, because
all right, so
exactly, there's no difference.
you said some like pretty harsh stuff about like, you know, Jewish people and stuff like that.
See, no.
Hold on, you gotta listen.
Let me finish. I mean, like, so maybe when they like see you guys on the streets and they feel like afraid or they feel tension, there is something, you know, like.
That goes to what I was telling you before. They don't know us. They never took time to get to know us. She was telling you that they separate themselves from us.
They don't want to know us.
So when you don't want to get to know someone, you would never.
Speaking,
you can't.
You're trying to manipulate the conversation.
No, I'm just asking.
No, because we told you we have no problem with them.
Hold on. First of all, why wouldn't we be afraid of them? Also, there's a misunderstanding and there's a lack of communication. How do we know that we're safe amongst them?
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons. For real, and these were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10. These were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10. These were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10.